Hello everyone, this is Nkonye, aka NdiNaija, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to go through the Form I-130, which is a form from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, otherwise known as USCIS, and this is one of many forms that you would complete if you are undergoing a family-based immigration journey in these United States, or with regards to the United States. For this particular form, I'm going to continue with our favorite immigration beneficiary, whose name happens to be Joe Curtis Blow, aka Derek, aka Drake Blow. And in this iteration of my immigration video series, Mr. Drake has gotten married. Now, when you file one of these I-130s, there are several people who can file an I-130, and right here I'm holding the instructions. You can download that from the USCIS website, which is www.uscis.gov, and you will need Adobe Acrobat Reader or something if you want to print it out, view it, and whatnot. These are the instructions. The instructions for the I-130 is a 12-page document. The I-130 itself is a 12-page document, and if you are filing a spousal-based petition, you would also download the I-130A, which is this. So we're going to very quickly look through the instructions and review half of the form, because these documents are long, right? So who are the people who may file the form I-130? If you are a U.S. citizen, you may file for your spouse, your unmarried children under 21, unmarried children over 21, married children, your brothers and sisters, or your parents. If you are a lawful permanent resident, or LPR, which means you have what is called a green card, and the reason it's called a green card is because the old cards were actually green. So if you're a lawful or legal permanent resident, you can file for your spouse, your unmarried child under 21, or your unmarried child over the age of 21. We're going to concentrate on this person who is married and his wife is completing this form. Let's zoom all the way in so that we can see the details of this. Like I said, we're continuing from the I-765, from the fictional person in the I-765 form, which I showed in a previous video. And this is just showing you how you would fill this out yourself, right? The instructions say that you should type or print in black ink. Now, I did this on the computer, so it's in black ink. If you were completing this by hand, you would use a black pen, whatever type of black pen you can use. You can notice that I printed these on single-sided, and I have my instructions double-sided. If you're submitting a form to the USCIS, please print it single-sided. Do not print out the forms double-sided. Print out all your forms single-sided. Okay, let's begin. Now, imagine this is Joe's wife, right? So she is filling this for her spouse, and she happens to be a woman. She is filling this for her spouse. So the first question, who are you filling this for? If you're filling it for your child or parent, you would need to complete this section. She is not completing it for her parent, she is completing it for her husband. So she skips question 2. Question 3, are you related by adoption? That has nothing to do with her. And question 4, did you gain lawful permanent resident status or citizenship through adoption? She was not adopted, so she says no. More information about you, the petitioner. And now, just to give just to show a difference between this form I-130 and this form I-130A, is that the petitioner is the person who has the privilege of completing this form in order to change the status of their beneficiary, whoever that person is, child, parent, spouse, whatnot, right? So this form is completed by the petitioner, the person who is a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, lawful permanent resident. This form is completed by the beneficiary. So in this case, this form would be filled by Joe Blow's wife, and this form would be filled by Joe Blow himself. Let's continue. Part 2, information about you, the petitioner. Now, she doesn't have an alien registration number, but this is her social. This is a fictitious social security number, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is her name. Her name is Free Zin Rain. Yes. Just a little bit of humor inserted into this nice long process. So her last name is Rain, first name is Free, middle name is Zin, because she was born during or conceived while during a freezing rain. TMI. Page 2. Are there any other names that you have used? She's used April because after getting laughed at school for having the name Freezing Rain, she decided she's just going to use her birth month anyway. So she's been going by April Rain, which is just beautiful, don't you think? City, town, and village of birth. That one's pretty easy. She was born in Albany in these United States, and this is her date of birth and her sex. Her mailing address, she input her mailing address there as 123 Terre Haute Avenue, and she lives in 345 in the fictional town of Mykonos, Texas, with hopefully what is a fictional zip code. If you're completing this, please do not be fictitious in any way. Is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? Straightforward answer, yes or no. And then we come to the address history. If your physical address or your mailing address is different from your physical address, you would complete this section. If your mailing address is the same as your physical address, you would leave this place blank. Now the instruction says provide your address for the last 5 years, whether inside or outside these United States. This particular person has lived in the United States all her life. She's lived at home, she went to college, and she's a not too recent college graduate, so you'll see the address change soon. So physical address number 1, because it's the same and she hit this box, she leaves this page blank. Next section, physical address number 2. So she has lived in this place from 2016 to 2018. Next section, your marital information. She's only been married once and she is currently married. Page 3, date of current marriage, if you're currently married. She put her date, she got married in April, close to her birthday, right? And she got married in Albany, New York, and this is the name of her spouse. Joe Blow, Joe Curtis Blow. The marriage has not ended yet. We hope the marriage does not end for these fictional lovebirds. But if the marriage had ended, you would put something there. But I don't know how that applies given that this is her current spouse, right? Anyway, the marriage is still ongoing, so we leave that place blank. Spouse number 2, if she was divorced, she would put her previous spouse right there. Now, excuse me. Information about her parents. This is her father, and his name is Faraway Rain. He was born in 1952, and he is male. I'm not sure how this would work for trans people. The form is not really designed to fit. But anyway, I can't speak on that. And he was also born in the United States in Albany. Parent number 2, you complete that information. Family name, given name, middle name. And this is Beth Fullerain. Yep, she is just scotch full of rain, isn't she? I hope you guys are liking my weird little jokes. Additional information about you, the petitioner. If she were a permanent resident, she would mark there, right? But she's not. She's a U.S. citizen born in the United States. My citizenship was acquired through, and it says select only one box, birth in the United States. Now, if she was a legal permanent resident, she wouldn't complete this section. If she was just a lawful permanent resident, she would just have that, and then she would skip to the next item. If she was a lawful permanent resident who then obtained citizenship, she would hit this box or select this box that she is a U.S. citizen and click this box which says naturalization, which is how she obtained U.S. citizenship. If she obtained U.S. citizenship from her parents, maybe she came in as a child and her parents became naturalized citizens when she was a child, thus conferring on her naturalization as well, then she would hit this link, which is naturalization through parents. It asked, have you obtained a certificate of naturalization or a certificate of citizenship? The answer is no. She has a passport. She doesn't need a certificate of citizenship. If you answered yes to the item number 38, which someone who was a lawful permanent resident who had now obtained naturalization would say yes to, they would include the certificate number, place of issuance, and the date. I hope I'm not going too fast, but you could slow down the video on YouTube here. More information. If you are a lawful permanent resident, complete numbers 40A through 41. All of this is blank because this person is a U.S. citizen. Employment history. She works for this company, AC/DC Motor Corporation, located at 305 Easy E, in the fictional town of, the whole thing is fiction, so yes, in the fictional town of Mykonos, Texas. She is a parts design engineer, and she started working there in September of 2014. Prior to that, she worked for the University of the Birds, and she was a teaching assistant. So we are assuming she was in grad school for these 2 years, and she was a TA for the whole time. So she put the address of her university and where, that it was located in the U.S. She was a TA, and these are the dates that occurred. Part 3 comes to biographic information. Are you Hispanic or Latino? What is your race? What is your height? And what is your weight? She is a tall girl like me. She's a tall, big girl like me. Very nice. Her eye color is gray, and her hair color is black. More information about the beneficiary, and you can see that some of this information is repeated, right? Previously, they asked her for the alien registration number, USCIS online account, or U.S. Social Security number in Part 2. And we see that again in Part 4. So ensure that the information that you're putting here matches, and you're very careful. Whenever you're completing immigration forms, it is important. I can't stress how important it is to be very, very careful. Be very careful and be very aware. Everything that you are putting down on a U.S. immigration form, you need to have some paperwork to back it, because how do we know you're telling the truth if you do not have official paperwork to back whatever you're saying, right? So this is her U.S. Social Security number. And then now we're going to the beneficiary. Joe Blow, his middle name is Curtis, and other names that he has used include Derek and Drake. When we come to the last page of this document, you will see this come back again. So, other names used are Derek Blow. He was born in the fictional town of Kukawachi, Australia, right? He was born in 1989. He is male. And when asked the question, has anyone ever filed a petition for the beneficiary, she says no. If she did not know, she would have had this as unknown. But this is your spouse. This is information you should know, right? The instruction here says select unknown only if you do not know and the beneficiary also does not know if anyone else has ever filed a petition for the beneficiary. And a situation where that would have come up would be something like if the person's grandmother, for example, was a U.S. citizen, or the person, something like that, or the person's mom's sister was a U.S. citizen who filed for his mom or his dad, and there was a possibility that there was a derivative application made for this person. This is not the case in this particular fictional case. The beneficiary's physical address. If the beneficiary lives outside the United States in a home without a street or a number, leave this blank. The beneficiary in this particular case lives with his wife in the fictional apartment of 123 Terre Haute Avenue in apartment 345. Other address and contact information. Provide the address in which the beneficiary intends to live, or where the beneficiary intends to live, if different from this section. If it's the same, print same. Read the instructions and follow them. Okay? Next page. It asked for a telephone number and an email address for our beneficiary. This is his fictional mobile telephone number and his fictional email address. Please do not email or call any of these people. I do not hold the email address to it. Now, how many times has the beneficiary been married? He has been married one time. And date of current marriage, if currently married. Let's see, we already completed that, or we already put that information somewhere else. And we will put it down now. Now, you can, if you leave out some information on the typed form, you can write it by hand. You are advised to follow the instructions and use a black pen to do so. It also asks for the place of the current marriage and the name of the beneficiary spouse, who is the person completing this fictional application. More information about the beneficiary's family. Joe Blow's dad, his name is Strong Blow, and that's his dad. He was also born in Australia. Joe Blow's mom is Consuela Maria Blow, right? She was born in Mexico. And somehow she found love in the lovely country of Australia. These are their birthdays. Next and last page in this particular video, information about the beneficiary continued. He doesn't have any more parents, so we leave that blank. Now, his entry information. This is very important. Was the beneficiary ever in the United States? Yes. This beneficiary is currently in the United States. He is working in the United States on optional practical training, which is training that you get, which is permission from the Department of Homeland Security to work after you have completed your degree, whatever degree it is, bachelor's, master's, doctorate degree. So the question here, was the beneficiary ever in the United States? Yes, he was and is in the United States. If the beneficiary is currently in the United States, says the instructions, complete items numbers 46A through D. What was his class of admission? He was a student, F1 student academic. This particular item has a drop-down box where you can choose which one that the person arrived with. You also have a Form I-94 arrival or departure record number. Now prior to, if I recall correctly, prior to 2014, people were getting paper I-94s. Nowadays, your I-94s are electronic. So you would go to the State Department website, not the USCIS website. You would go to the Department of State, or is it state.gov? I don't recall, but you would go to the U.S. State Department's website to obtain your arrival and departure record. They have records of all your travels, your entries, and your exits from the United States from at least 2014 and maybe even earlier. So this is when he arrived. He has this number. This was when he arrived on March 24th, 2012. This is also his passport number. Now, because he arrived as a student, his I-94 would have had DS, which means duration of status. That was generally how students' stay was authorized by the officer at CBP. Okay. Next, what was the country that issued your passport or travel document? For him, that was Australia, and they have, let's say, a 12. This is fictional, so this is very likely inaccurate. Let's say they have a 12-year or 15-year expiration for passports, so that's when his passport expires. Next section is asking for his employment information. He currently works at CCG Manufacturing, which is located at Waiting to Exhale Lane, and his date of employment began in July 2016. It also asks if he has ever been in immigration proceedings. This will conclude the first part of this video. I only wanted to go through half of it, and we're on page 7 of 12 pages, as you can see, but we'll go through the next 5 pages, or actually 6 pages, in the next video. This particular form was from February 13th, 2019. When you go on the USCIS website, you will see which edition of the form, and you must download, if you're filing this in paper, you must download the latest edition of this form, download the instructions, and if you're filing a spousal form, also download this I-130A. Again, this is Nkonye, aka NdiNaija. If you have any questions or anything that you want me to directly address in the next video, which will complete this, please leave a comment down below. I will have my information in the description box. You could easily email NdiNaija@gmail.com. If you need help and you would like someone to help prepare this form for you along with other forms, you can also hit my email up for a fee. Thanks everyone. Talk to you later.